Hi everyone, my name is Sai. I'm one of the product managers for Clio Grow. I'm responsible for two of the teams here, working with an amazing set of developers and designers in my team, all of which are in the product lab. So we'll be looking forward to having you there as well. Today we're talking about, less talking, more doing actually. How to set up a form in Clio Grow. There will be some hands-on stuff. We try to keep it very simple. And if you don't have one of these worksheets, there are still some worksheets up here. And you can also, if you want, you can move up here if you want to work through them. The idea of the worksheet is just to simply follow along, but I will be prompting you folks, so you don't have to necessarily go back and forth between the content here and your worksheet, but we'll take maybe a 30-second each time we need to just go through the worksheet, maybe check a few boxes, and that's it. And the idea of today is to leave you with a set of action items. So when you are done with the ClioCon that is back home, you have some action items for yourself to set up the Grow forms in the way that will work for your law firm. So that's how we're going to use the worksheet. And we'll start with setting our objectives and to help generate new leads for your law firm. As in the Jack's keynote presentations, you saw more than 80% of our law firms are looking to generate new leads, and you can use forms to automate your intake cycle as well as improving lead conversion. When we say lead conversion, it relates to your existing lead base and how to convert them into clients at a higher rate. First, we want to thank our sponsors for sponsoring ClioCon and this presentation. As I mentioned, my name is Saygin, and everyone calls me, including my family and friends and my colleagues, and also customers actually, who know me in person, Sai. And what senior product manager means in the software world is that if you have a complaint, you just come find me and we talk through your needs and desires and what you want to see in the product. So if you are using Grow right now, my teams and some other teams are behind newest features such as text messaging, shared contacts, which Jack just introduced. I'm sure you are very excited about that, automated workflows, and the Google integration with local services ads. As part of my job at Clio, I talk to hundreds of customers every year. So we're going to talk about the common legal intake practices that we've been seeing with law firms using Grow. And to set up forms, first we need to understand what our objectives are using Grow's forms. So we're going to talk about your objectives a little bit and how you can use Grow to fulfill these objectives. I'm also going to give you a sneak peek into what to expect from Grow. Very exciting stuff this year and next year. And I mentioned about the worksheet. And before we start, I'm curious, is there anyone who is not using Grow today? Just by a show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, actually 10 or so. Well, welcome. Is anyone using another intake solution among the 10? Just 2, 3. Okay, so I mentioned the common legal intake practices. And we see when a legal matter is born, clients go through this awareness and discovery phase where they're looking to understand a little bit about, mostly through referrals, obviously, and also searching on their own, maybe online, to find a law firm that meets their expectations. Another stage is the consideration, where they're trying to find social proof of a law firm to build that credibility. And in the evaluation phase, we see they're looking for the practice area, budgetary concerns. And then oftentimes from this moment onwards, there's an intake call, maybe a consultation, either free or paid. And of course, it wraps up with a retainer agreement or an engagement letter. And then from that moment onwards, we start the litigation cycle. And Grow has historically been in this rectangle that you're seeing, which is around the intake, streamline and intake, and making sure you can send them documents and then convert them into clients. With Google in local services ads and websites that we've launched this past year, as you may have been seeing, we're going more towards the consideration and awareness phase as well. So we have a lot more coming on that front very recently in the months to come. We also will use our phones. Last year, this was a very popular thing among this workshop. So we also want to hear from you, and this will also help you to understand, what other law firms are doing with intake. So we have 4 polls today. The first one is, we want to hear what your intake cycle today includes. And we'll probably see the results over here. You can select all that apply to your situation right now. Does it include oftentimes a phone call for sure, an online intake form, appointments, and maybe some advanced integrations like websites, receptionists, virtual receptionists, chatbots. Let's hear out. Okay, 45 folks already. That's awesome. Over the phone is the most popular, unsurprisingly, an appointment and an online intake form, and integrations to the website as well. Well, unsurprisingly, most of you mentioned, I think roughly half of you mentioned you use online intake forms right now. More than 60% of Grow customers are using intake forms on a daily basis right now. And if you are not familiar with Grow, and I think some of you are not, on the left-hand side, you see what it looks like to the law firm, where you templatize a bunch of questions, because forms are essentially a way of gathering client information about the contact or the matter. In this case, you're seeing an example of a drop-down question that is asking about the marital status, and options are separated, etc. And on the right-hand side, the client gets a notification either through SMS or email, and then they go through the form, answer a bunch of questions, which then populate the fields in Grow. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to populate those fields respectively. There are many reasons why customers love using intake forms. It is one of the two most popular features in Grow, and we're going to deep dive into automating intake, generating new leads, and improving lead conversion using Grow. So this is a good time to also start looking at your worksheet as well as answer this poll. In this worksheet, you will see the first ever question: what is your law firm's objective as it relates to law firm growth? We listed 3 options: automating streamline intake, generating new leads for your law firm, as well as improving lead conversion into client. And let's also hear from the poll as well. Wow, okay. A clear winner here. Well, you've come to the right place. So automated intake, almost everyone out of 62, 57, and roughly 40% generating new leads and improving lead to client conversion rates, and not looking for growth at the moment. Kudos. All right, well, let's talk about automation. We know roughly, Jack was also alluding to this, low utilization rates, 23 hours per week are spent on repetitive tasks by an average attorney. I'm sure you can all relate to it. And last time I checked, we broke roughly around 40 to 50, and this is way too many hours to be clicking buttons or drafting documents. And if you are saying that you need a more efficient and automated intake process, Grow Forms can help you with that. And I'm actually quite surprised. Sometimes folks come to the product lab. There's a lot of opportunity to be aware of what Grow Forms can do right now, but we're all busy people. We don't often, go around clicking things to explore. So hopefully this workshop will help kind of gain some awareness into the things that you can do today, but oftentimes goes unnoticed. So we hear a lot. I mentioned hundreds of customer interviews I've done over the course of 2 years that I've been at Clio. I'm spending too much time gathering contact and matter information. And I think the winning thing that we do in intake was phone calls, right? And phone calls is a way of, effectively gathering information, but also takes a lot of time. So one thing that is one of the most popular things that our Grow customers do is connecting your Grow forms into custom fields and standard fields. You may already be doing this right now, but I hear a lot of time that customers have not noticed it. And what that means in the template, for instance, you can draft it so that the client says, hey, marital status is single. Then you can go to your Grow app, and then you can see that custom field populated as single once the intake form is submitted. Another thing that we keep hearing is spending too much time drafting retainers or engagement letters. And I think most of you are using retainer agreements, templatized documents right now in Grow. But those fields that you just gathered, and one thing that's really popular, especially if you're working with flat fee, is that you can have a custom field that's flat fee, how much you're charging your client for their case. And then you can use that merge field into the retainer template and then pull that for your templatized. And then every time you have to send a document to a client, you don't have to redo it. It is all automatically pulled in. And you just assign, hey, he's the person that's signing this document, and it's all taken care of you. Usually it takes around 30 seconds or less to draft a retainer agreement that was populated through what you gathered through forms. And this is something that I think most of you don't know yet, and most of you are Grow users, because we didn't do extensive communications around it yet, is automated workflows. And if we hear a lot that you have to babysit your matters along the matter life cycle, especially in the intake, sometimes maybe you have to go follow up with a reminder, hey, we sent you the intake form, can you fill this up? Or maybe click a few buttons, intake form is received, check your email inbox to see that intake form is received, go have a task assigned to your intake specialist, then they move the matter along the pipeline. So what the automated workflows does is a trigger-based automated workflow. That means if something happens, then the next step can trigger. And you still get the email notifications as you do today, but without all the clicking buttons and all that things that you have been used to doing with Grow. So what that looks like here is that today, actually, you can go to your settings, maybe when you're done with the session, and start using the automated workflows. It's in the settings. You go create a template. Currently, there's 3 templates to choose from. Starting hopefully next week, we're allowing you to build custom automations that cater to your specific intake processes. You define what's the first step, requesting a form, changing the matter status, scheduling the appointment, changing the matter status again. This is one of the templates that we have right now. But starting next week, as I mentioned, there will be custom-built automations that you can use. We'll add tasks and documents in the future so that you're eliminating these repetitive tasks, especially when it comes to client engagement and communication. How you apply to a matter, you're familiar with what Grow looks like. You just simply pick from the drop-down the automated workflow that you want to apply, and you can see the progress of each of the automated workflow steps so that you have the visibility into what's going on in a matter. This is an example, the client filling out the form. At the top, you see the form is, the matter status is newly added. And once the client has filled out the form, the matter will move into intake form received automatically. Is this something that you resonate with? I mean, automated workflows, it's been a featured request for a while. I see a few nods. And if you're one of those saying like, hey, Sai, I don't mind spending time, I just need to have 100% control over their matters or your matters, then you can use checklists. They're basically a bunch of to-do items I think most of you are using right now. You can check them and they will keep track. It will help you keep track of what has been done on the matter before. So this is a good time to stop and then go to your worksheet. On the first question, of, I need to automate my intake cycle, which most of you said yes to. You can look through the things that you're not doing today and simply use the checkbox. Hey, maybe when I go back home, these are the things that I need to look at. And at the end of the worksheet, there are help article titles that you can search on Google or Clio's help documents that will hopefully make it easier for you to find the content that relates to your checkboxes. So let's take 30 seconds and then read through what you need to be doing when you're home. Well, if you're one of the roughly 40 to 50% that said, I want more leads, well, first you can sign up to Google Local Services ads using Grow, but also there are ways that you can use forms and set up forms that will help you generate your leads as well. We know that 57% of legal consumers search for an attorney on their own. It's a massive percentage when we know also referrals are also a big part of it. Oftentimes there is a little overlap, around 17% of clients who look for both a referral and searching on their own. But let's just focus on the green part. When they are searching for on their own, a lawyer's website, an online search engine, and online reviews are the top 3 ways. And this was 2019, and a lot of things happened since then on the digital transformation side. More and more clients are looking for social proof online. Yet, 53% of solo attorneys don't have a website, according to American Bar Association. Probably went down, hopefully, since this report was published a few years ago. And I'm curious Clio Grow participants tend to have websites, but if you do, what is on it? If you don't, please use the poll just to mark it. Do you have just basic information about yourself? Do you have any appointment links, for instance, or intake forms on your website? Or are you saying you're an advanced website user and you have it all built out with advanced automation like chatbots or receptionists? Or I'm actually surprised that just basic information, just practice area, basic contact information is high. Integrated forms and appointment booking. So has anyone taken advantage of Grow websites so far? Just by a show of hands. 1, 2. All right. It was a very popular feature actually, since we launched last year. On day 1, I'm already losing my voice. Forms can be built onto your website. It looks like most of you have not explored that yet, but if you're saying that you could benefit from leads reaching out to you through your website, and I understand that some of you actually don't want to, and I think in certain practice areas it's not common. You don't want every single one person who sees your contact information to reach out to you. You prefer referrals, etc. Number one thing is that you can create a website. I think most of you already do, and you can use Grow for that. Maybe you want to switch if among the bucket that has a website, but it's just basic information. Grow Website Builder has a template builder that you can use. Under 30 seconds, you can publish a website, and you don't have to now, talk to your third-party vendor. Maybe you may be paying for a website builder actually. And Grow currently does have a website function that some customers don't know about. And the beauty of it is that you can have your forms that you built in Grow publicly available on your website. So every time someone reaches out to you, you actually see that matter created in Grow automatically. And this is what the website builder looks like. You just configure, I want this, I don't want this, I want this, I don't want that. And then you can publish the website there, it's live. And because of, public forms being such a major tool that helps law firms, we see roughly 20,000 legal matters get created in Grow with all the customers in any given month, just simply using publicly available forms. And this is especially important because when looking for a lawyer, 79% of clients expect a response within 24 hours. And 42% of the clients say if they like the first lawyer they speak with, they don't have to talk to anyone else. So what does this all mean for your law firm is that you need to remove all the friction for someone to get in touch with you, because easier you make it to get in for them to get in touch with you, higher the likelihood that they will retain you as their lawyer. And simply how you can turn a form public is you can go to your form templates, turn it into a public form using that toggle, and then you can start then using these form links that is basically a URL that you can copy into your email campaigns, email signatures, and referral communications, all in the name of removing all that friction when a client is trying to get in touch with you. And in this current, very fast-paced world, people are, I don't know, whenever a friend calls me instead of messaging me first, I'm all like, what's up? Like, this must be a very emergency situation. So people are used to just not talking to a human at first to getting started with things. Of course, for legal matters, it's a bit different. But we do see, 20,000 forms being submitted every month. So let's just take a second and then go to the worksheet to see if you have your forms publicly available right now, and if this is something that you would like to start doing. I think this was a shorter one anyway. And the third thing we mentioned was improving your lead conversion. Most of you have an existing lead base, maybe you're running some email campaigns. And how do you make sure at the initial touch point until they become a client that you ensure responsiveness with the client, effective engagement and communication so that you convert them at a better rate? And there's ways that you can use forms for that. I'm curious, there's a joke that says, there are two types of people. One of them is a zero inbox type of person who reads all their emails. At work, I am like that, and it takes a mental toll on me for sure to read every single email. But oftentimes, the second bucket is not the zero inbox person, and this is probably how we currently operate, most of you. And there is a remedy for that, which is texting, especially when it comes to talking to your clients. So I'm curious, do you have texting enabled today? Probably in Manage, but Grow also has texting as of last year. And do you text your leads? And if you are texting leads, is it more one-way reminders, your appointment is coming up, your forms, document links through text? Jack was introducing that in the keynote if you were there. Or maybe do you have two-way communication with your clients today? Let's see. Two ways winning. Okay, so most of you have two-way, which is very interesting. Does it apply to the leads as well, or is it just with your clients? It's just nods. Clients? Interesting. And not at all is roughly half. Sending them one-way reminders, one-way information sharing, forms and docs, and two-way. Okay, very good to know. Well, some statistics, if you do send forms through a SMS link instead of an email link, we have some backend data I wanted to show you guys, which is, we see 20% higher completion rate when you send the form through text instead of an email. And that's probably because people don't check their email as regularly. Maybe things get lost. I mean, my email inbox has my favorite clothing brand that says, hey, there's a sale, but also maybe a lawyer who's trying to contact me, whereas text is more for important stuff. So it makes sense that we see 20% higher completion rate on day one. And if you're talking about 15 minutes, that completion rate increases to 87% higher completion rate. So it's really critical that in your cases don't fall through the cracks, and it's important to make, reduce the friction to getting your responses as much as possible. And if you are suffering from your clients not being responsive enough, filling out documents and forms, and I think in Jack's keynote, this was something that you all resonated with. Today, you can turn on text messaging. Text messaging in Grow, again, from the settings in the screenshot at the top, and it will automatically get applied to every single form you're sending, unless you turn it off when you are sending it. And we talked about, improving engagement through texting, but one thing that really helps converting a lead is clarity. I mean, when I go to, speaking from the clothing brand, when I go to a store, I just want to understand the full process what the refund process is like, right? And for a legal matter, it's extremely important. We see 80% of clients looking for a lawyer say it's important to have a clear understanding how to proceed. 74% say they want to understand what the full process looks like from end to end. And when you're looking for reasons not hiring a lawyer, 65% said they had no indication on what to do next, and 62% said they didn't understand the process. So it goes without saying, clarity is key, especially when it comes to communications. So one way you can do that in Grow with forms especially is personalize and customize your communications as much as possible. So if you find yourself and your client asking too many questions about the process, or it probably is a symptom that you may not be providing the insight that they need. And a few ways that you can do that with Grow is you can actually customize and create as many templates of emails when you are sending a form. And it's a good time to kind of introduce them to what the process looks like. And you can also customize when they submit the form, what they should be expecting. An example that we've given here says, thank you for taking the time to submit the form. We'll review your form and follow up to schedule an appointment. It's better if you say, follow up to schedule an appointment within the next few hours or 24 hours. And it just goes a long way. When we see you are sending reminders with your forms, we see a 9% higher completion rate. And we have more plans on reminders in Grow to automate that process even further. And especially my estate planning or similar practice areas, customers mention that there's a pain point around how forms can be too long and it kind of goes over their head. They don't understand what these questionnaires are, why it matters to kind of for you to collect their company information, for instance. So a few ways you can set up forms is using follow-up questions. Grow currently supports a very basic if and then statement. What's your marital status? If they say separated, then you say, okay, as a follow-up question, when was the separation? Or maybe upload a document for your separation agreement so that you're not showing all these questions in advance. You're only showing them when it applies to their situation. One thing that's also common is creating form templates per practice area or matter type, and even per the type of contact. If this is a specific contact who doesn't like long forms, maybe you can have a shorter one, and then you want to maybe collect some of the information over the phone instead of questionnaires. And this past year, some of you actually may not have heard of it, but you can now customize what kind of contact information goes into your Grow templates. Previously, you could not customize it, but right now you can take away company or address that may not really apply to your situation. And on the matter of improving lead conversion rates, this kind of goes without saying, 70% of lead consumers mentioned they want to know a lawyer's experience and credentials. A tiny sliver of that is making sure you convey a sense of trust through a corporate identity. And it's very small, part of how you can convey trust, but maybe, you can have your custom letterhead for your law firm in your form and document letterhead section. And that will probably help convey at least a small portion of the trust that you're striving to give. So let's just take a second. We talked a lot about improving lead conversion rates. So we can go to the worksheet for now and look at the third bullet point, improving lead conversion. And you can mark the things that you think you should be doing. And some of you may be curious about what to expect in Grow. If you are here, you're interested in forms, I'm pleased to tell you that we have a really good plan in place to improve the conditional logic in forms and pagination. An example of that would be if they answer a specific question in a specific way, maybe you can jump a whole section and then go to a new section, for instance. So we're going to start working on this very soon. And if you are curious to have early access, there are multiple ways you can do that. One of them is you can email me, and my email address is also in the worksheet. And there's a sign-up form in the product lab, which will be throughout the conference. And you can just say you're interested in client intake. There's a drop-down, and that's the form responses that we'll be monitoring to recruit customers into early access program. And more seamless Grow and Manage integration is also on our roadmap. Currently we released the shared contacts architecture, which ensures active bi-directional sync between Grow and Manage on contacts to roughly 55% of our customers as of last week. And starting end of October, by the end of October, most of you, if not all of you, will see an option to opt into this. So I highly encourage you to look for a banner that says, hey, do you want to share synchronize your contacts across Clio Grow and Manage? It will just take you to the modal that you say, hey, I understand the implications, please do it. And then from that moment onwards, you will have your contacts appearing in both. And once you update on a contact or create a new contact, you don't have to convert it over to the other one. It will already appear in the other one. I mentioned the automated workflows. We're going to double down on those efforts to create custom-built automations, have tasks and documents in there as well. And something that we're very excited about is effective ways of generating new demand for your services so that you get more leads if you want. And also being able to report on, for instance, if you spent X amount of money, how did that help me convert more businesses, and then report on the ROI. My marketing colleagues told me that there's some sort of, I think maybe 10 of you didn't have Grow. So if you like to get Grow, you can go to level up section at the main exhibit area, and there's some sort of a promo for ClioCon. As I mentioned, my name is Sai. I'll be at the product lab throughout, and I hope this was useful, and I hope you were able to walk away with a bunch of action items for yourself. I see some nods, and that makes me very happy. And we have a lot of questions for you, actually. So if you come to ClioCon, the product lab, I would like to discuss some more automated workflow capabilities with you guys. So thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the conference. It's a great time.